All right, this pouch is about big enough to put an MRE in there, perhaps, if you want to. I want to encourage you something and give you just a quick tip. Don't load up the outside of your bag. If you have outside pockets or anything, leave those unloaded for last-minute mission change gear is what I call it. Anytime you're going off the line of departure, you always have last-minute changes that occur in your plans, and so you want to leave room to throw that stuff in there so you don't have to rip the main part of the rucksack open. All right, this is just designed mostly to keep things from sliding down these side straps down to the bottom and off. You don't want a mortar round to fall on the ground, in other words, what I'm saying. You can also put other things on the side. It doesn't have to be mortar rounds, all right? This is very versatile. And you simply unsnap these and you put your mortar round or whatever you're going to carry, your poles or whatnot in here, and then you will strap back down. You'll notice above this there's a sort of a rubberized piece, sort of rubberized leather. This is basically a stress point they noted when they were loading the ruck. And this is a nice feature. This tells me two things. Number one, that somebody who's done some actual research and testing. They probably went out and had a few that wore out on the design models, and then they said, you know what, we need to strengthen these points. So whenever I see strength points added and they make sense, I am encouraged by what I see. Right above these straps, you'll notice the MOLLE attachments. MOLLE, I call it real estate. And I just put something on here. This is not actually what I carry, because in fact, I am a firm believer you don't want to put stuff on the side of the rucksack or on the outside as much as possible. The reason being because there is a carry handle. And let me swivel this around so you can see in action. There's a carry handle, and it's not just a piece of 1-inch nylon strap that's well sewed on, which it is, but it also has a piece of essentially like a small fuel line hose, about 3/4 inch hose. And that's great because you can pick this up and you're not going to hurt your hand. So if you have this sucker loaded down with 120 pounds, which it will hold, it is not going to, you have one of these on each side of the rucksack here. Okay. Now I have a bit of gear in here. It's not fully loaded out, but it's close to it. Let's look slightly above that now. If you notice these two pieces of rubber here, these are actually hooked onto zipper pulls. And the zippers on this bag are quite interesting. And let me move this out of the way so that we can work with it. There is a zipper that runs from the top of the bag all the way down to the bottom. And there are two zipper pulls. The great thing about this, most of you that have been out in the field, you know Murphy's Law, right? The piece of gear you need is always in the bottom of the bag. This zipper allows you to open the bag up, and there's one on either side, uniformly mounted, so that you can reach inside to get equipment out without having to go into the main pouch on top, which we'll talk about in just a second. So here I can reach in and fish around and get that candy bar or whatever it was I got. And it also pulls up easy because the zipper design is really nice. Let me move this in a little bit closer so we can have a look at the actual zipper design. This is a very rugged looking zipper. I like this, and I like the way that it's enclosed. So the back side of the teeth are not going to get boogered up dragging this thing around. Again, another sign that somebody really thought this piece of gear through. You can also see another additional stress point mounted up here on the top of the bag, and we'll look at that in just a second. But again, it looks like somebody really put a lot of thought and effort into this bag. Zipper pulls up easy. Keeps clean. I think I like it a lot just on that feature alone. All right. Next is the top compartment, or the lid. And this lid is removable. Again, another great feature, especially when you're out in the field. It has, let me turn this around, to access what's inside the lid. There are two zippers for zipper pull. This is where I keep my snivel gear, wet weather gear, or anything else. It's advised that when you're carrying a heavy load, you want to put as much of the load up at a shoulder or higher level as you can. Don't tower it up like a mountain up over your head, but get it up above your shoulders if you can. Again, the same identical zipper pattern and the same zipper pulls as are on both sides of the bag, running top to bottom. Now, the easiest way to get in the bag, there are 5 total buckles that hold the lid on. However, if you want to take the bag off completely, you're going to have to essentially undo some of the webbing strap here on this piece. I'll show you in just a second. You would have to, because it is affixed through this keeper, you would have to essentially unstitch that. And then you could simply pull this keeper strap out and this lid would come off. This sort of keeps it Joe-proof is the way I call it, or refer to it. This keeps the bag from Joe taking the lid completely off and losing it. That being said, you will find these bags for sale with the lid missing and also with the belt missing. Don't buy the bags that are missing the lid and the belt. Because if they've taken, they've stripped the lid and the belt off, they've also taken other things off as well, most likely, and probably not taking good care of the bag. I don't buy things from people that are incomplete, especially when they give you that phony line of, well, it should be easy to replace. Well, great, if it was easy to replace, why didn't you do it? Let's swivel the bag around to the back side so we can have a look at how this lid comes off. Okay? There are 2 buckles on the back of the rucksack that attach upward into the lid. And you just pop the buckles loose and you lift this off. And there the lid is exposed. We'll put this down on the ground in just a second. But I'm going to put this lid back on for just a moment so we can have a look at another one of the unique and rather nice features of this bag. I need to move the camera back for just a second, so bear with me. Another new feature that this bag incorporates is the ability to mount your hydration system on the outside of the bag, and it comes ready made for that purpose. It used to be, if you wanted to carry on the outside with the Army Molly, you had to essentially tie it on or strap it on in some way. In this case, there's a purpose-designed pouch just for that, and it does have good retention in there. It's positive retention and it's got redundancy. And that's good because you can have about 100 liters of water in here, and that's going to be, or 100 ounces of water, I'm sorry, 3 liters, which is going to be just under about 6 pounds of water on the back. And you want it to be not inside, because the problem with that is you stuff things down inside your bag, and I'm always thinking of that with my hydration system. Am I going to punch a hole in it? This way you can carry your hydration system inside the carrier pouch on the outside of your bag. The only downside of that is it's out in the sun and it is getting warm. But the upside is you can get to it easily, and it's easy to refill as a result. It's not going to get punched holes in on the inside of the bag. Doesn't mean it's going to be invulnerable outside, though, to that. To get to this, you don't have to remove the top lid. You can if you want to, but I'm going to show you how to do it without removing the top lid. There's a strap at the top here, and there are 2 side straps here and here. There are a lot of straps on this bag. That's good, though, because it gives us options. Now I need to take my drinking straw loose from the front of my drinking tube, because I don't want to just rip this off of here. Now I can fold this down, and I can take my hydration system out of the pouch. And I have, this is the Marine Corps hydration system. I got this on eBay for like $1 or something like that. I think there's more to ship it than it was for the bag. The hydration bladder inside was brand new, and it's not even a Marine Corps one, it's an Army issue one. And whenever we come back, it's the Hydromax, and whenever we come back, we have to pull these out and turn in our carriers in the ACU pattern, and we get to keep the hydration bladder. So here's my bladder, I think, from my last tour. Still, and if you take care of your bladder, it's always going to stay viable, and you can clean them out with denture cleaners, those little fizzy denture cleaners, or some baking soda and a little bit of vinegar. All right, so let me set this down here for a second. I'm going to move the camera in so we can have a look at how this is set up. And you can see this, how it simply attaches. It's sewn on, and it's got a pouch on the inside, which is going to keep your bag from slipping left and right. And it fits perfectly with this, and it'll fit in most of the carriers. I'll give you the measurements for that as well up here on the screen. All right. When not in use, you simply put the straps inside like so. And you want to roll this up a little bit, fold it in half. And there is a strap with a button fastener here on the back of the bag. So if you're not going to carry your hydration system on the outside, there you have it. And now you see exposed some MOLLE real estate, some more MOLLE straps here at the top, as well as MOLLE straps down at the bottom. If you are going to carry something on the outside of the bag, this is a pretty good place to put your bedroll. Okay, that's that foamy rubber thing that you'll see some people carrying around. This way it's out of the way and it's lightweight. If you're going to have something on the back side of your bag, make it light, okay, and try to keep stuff out of the way. I try to discourage people from putting a lot of gear on the outside and attaching MOLLE things. It's just one more thing to get hung up. But if you're going to, this is the place right here. Just don't put heavy stuff. I'll show you a place to put the heavy stuff in a minute. This is for lightweight stuff. And frankly, for me, this is a good place to put the actual sleep pad. All right, we're going to set the bag down on the ground, and we're going to get into the actual bag now. All right, now we need to pop the lid. There are 5 buckles that hold the lid on completely, and you only need to undo 2 of them to open the lid. 2 buttons on the back, or 2 snaps on the back, and we lift up. And we'll notice inside, first of all, there is an additional strap that goes from the front to the rear and attaches. This allows us to do 2 things. One is it's going to help when we have our water system in. Our water system clips into the bottom here. All right. The other thing is when we have the salt ruck on here, this helps to keep the back of the bag from pulling down, and this adds as an additional way to help snug and secure and cinch gear down that's inside. Let's move this out of the way so you can see that. Inside the bag, we'll talk about in just a second. Let's look at the lid a little bit more carefully though. I'm going to move the camera up again, so bear with me please. Notice inside the lid there are MOLLE attachment points as well. The best place to carry your heavy gear is going to be up on top of the bag. I looked at this and I immediately thought, okay, my MOLLE bandoliers, I've got them back in Maine, but they'll go here. And this is where I can carry my additional basic loads of ammunition. I'll carry about 8 to 12 extra magazines besides what's on my chest rig. So this is a perfect place for it because it's out of the way, it's not getting tore up or dirty, it's not getting lost, but yet it's right here if you need it where you can get to it. It's very quick, fast, and in a hurry. And it also has a couple of extra straps to help you strap things down. To me, I put the magazines here with the tops facing this way, and I've got a quick, fast way to get a hold of them. All right, folks, now we are looking top down into the rucksack. First, we're looking at the lid. And here you'll notice these MOLLE attachment points. This is a perfect place for your MOLLE bandoliers to go. And this way you can carry your basic load of ammunition up in the top of your rucksack where it's easy to get to, and also it's putting the weight as high up above your shoulders as you can get it. This ammunition is quite heavy for whatever weapon you have. So don't calculate the weight of your basic load based on your empty magazines because the weight goes up significantly. You can see here also the buckles that attach the lid. And again, the lid is kind of Joe-proofed in the sense that this last buckle is really a keeper. And in order for me to take this off, I would have to undo the stitching on this loop. This is 1-inch nylon strapping, and it's good 1-inch hard nylon strapping, coyote tan color all throughout. All right, so I'm going to leave the bag attached, and we're going to move the camera back, and we're going to have a look down inside the top of the rucksack. Now we're in the top of the rucksack. Top of the rucksack, there's a very thick nylon type of bag that's firmly attached to the rest of the rucksack, and it's basically a draw and gather. Now it's not entirely waterproof, as you can see, and I had somebody say you don't need the lid because the top's waterproof, and I thought, well, not a physics major, but I do know that's probably bigger than a water drop there. Probably going to get in there. It's somewhat waterproof, however, and it is designed to allow you to pull this in This cord is really strong. This is not your cheapy little piece of nylon cord. This is like some sort of wire almost. It's very tough. And it's got a keeper on here. So we will open this up. This is sort of a draw and gather feature, and I'm going to roll this down. As I do, notice the Eagle Globe and Anchor. This is made expressly for the United States Marine Corps by Proper International, also known as Arceratex. In the top, you're going to notice this Marpat pattern on what is the radio pouch. And the radio pouch did not come with this. It should, but I had to buy it separately. Not a big deal, because before I bought, I knew I could find these very inexpensively. If you've ever humped the military radio, you know there's some design criteria for military radios. One of them is it has to be excessively heavy. And having been a radio operator for many years in my earlier career, I can attest to that I don't think I ever found a really light U.S. Army radio. Now this is great because if you have the radio in here, and I just have some stuff in here, in fact a roll of toilet paper, but normally this is where I'm going to keep heavy things like ammunition or radio or batteries. I can just flip this out of the way if I want to get to what's inside the bag. This is great. Alternatively, I could hang this down the inside of the bag so that the radio is right up against the top part of my bag, which is where most radio operators do. That way, if somebody has to get into the radio and change frequencies, it's right there. In fact, that is what these slits are for here in the side. They are so that you can get to the radio equipment, and also they can run the radio wire out and everything else. So it may not be useful for us, but my thought was, well, if you do have a radio or something inside, you don't have to go through. If you wanted to, you might be able to sew these together and make that somewhat more waterproof on the top. The radio pouch can either be flipped over or it can be removed. It has two buckles that buckle it to the inside. The radio pouch is a very simple piece of gear, and it's not even going to hold a lot of loose, lightweight stuff, as you can see. Okay, because it's got slits on the side. So it'll hold a radio very well, but probably not a whole lot of other things. This is great too, the slits on the bottom, because if you need to change a radio battery out, get a hold of something, you can reach the basket and get to it. I'm going to set this aside for the minute, and we're going to start looking down onto the inside of this rucksack. You can see I've got in here right now my EDC bag, and I believe in carrying my EDC bag inside you shouldn't have your EDC bag and then try to put your Bugout bag on as well. You're only going to be able to carry one bag on your back. So all your stuff that's in your level 1 and your EDC and your SEER kit, it all needs to go down inside the rucksack. That's why a 4,500 cubic inch rucksack, even though you may not need that much weight capacity, you're certainly going to be glad for the extra space, the extra volume. It gives you a lot more flexibility when doing your loading. All right, looking down inside, you can see this is quite cavernous. And here, of course, is our radio pouch attachments. And I have inside of here, of course, some of my stuff, my BioLite stove, which there's a video on that here as well. Okay. I have some of my chow, and there'll be more of it coming along. Got my fishing net. And you'll notice I have these in small bags. I'll probably go with the Marine Corps dry bags that they also are seeming to dump on the market for a good price at the moment. And my snivel gear. We'll have a video on snivel gear later on, but for the moment, this is my snivel gear. Okay, and that's, by the way, the proper way to tie off these waterproof bags. We'll show you how to do that in another video. It's a nice, fun little thing to do. All right, now let's look inside the bag. You can see down at the bottom that we have my sleeping bag, or my sleep system. And that's the issue 4-piece sleep system. You get those for a pretty good price as well. We'll do a video on the sleep system here later, because I think it's a nice piece of gear. Put a little light on the subject here. Let's see, we don't need all that bright. There, a little light. And you see this piece right here that I'm illuminating? You see where my hand is touching? That is going to be the divider. That is so that if you have some gear down in the bottom of the bag and you don't want it to get commingled with the other stuff. For instance, let's say you have something really that you need to get to a lot off and on, and you don't want all your stuff in the bottom to get in the way. It's just an extra divider, and it's also a way to keep that weight up towards the top of the bag. That's a nice handy feature as well. So let's put a few things back in here just so we can give ourselves some room. And I'll show you this bag in just a second with this divider deployed.